And a very good evening, everybody, and welcome to Fairway to Heaven right here on Edge of Philly Sports. We are live, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. You know the drill. Hit those like, share, subscribe, follow, retweet buttons wherever you are watching. Just get interactive with the show and tell one, tell all, tell everybody you know to get interactive with the show as we break down this week's RBC Canadian Open and a lot of other golf news as we dive into it. I am your host, Phil Stiefel, every single week here at Beard of Knowledge, and my main man, Jason Sullivan, sitting next to me at jsully2121. Good evening, Jason. How you doing today?
Doing good, buddy. If you happen to see anybody training over here, a little man training, he's training to be a future NFL superstar. So you might catch him in the picture.
Is that what it is? I wasn't sure if it was what the training was. I thought he was maybe going for like American Ninja Junior or something.
He might. Either way, he's going to be able to take Uncle Phil in about probably, 2 years or so.
He already blatantly said that he's stronger than you and beat you in an arm wrestling.
He did. True story.
Yeah, true story. That is not a joke. That is true stuff right there. Guys, we got lots to talk about this week, and we are going to continue on and march on with the show here today. And I say it like that because that's what the parents of Grayson Murray said to the PGA Tour, to Jay Moynihan last week in the middle of last week's Charles Schwab Challenge. And for those that don't know, Grayson Murray, PGA Tour golfer, was in the field last week, withdrew after the 16th hole of round 2, and all indications, and his parents basically said it, Grayson Murray committed suicide Saturday night or Saturday morning before Saturday's tee times and stuff like that. And it's shocking. It's sad. For the golf enthusiasts out there, we know that Grayson Murray has struggled with substance abuse and mental health issues for a very long time. He's 30 years old. Well, he was 30 years old. And he even took some time off from tour. And Jason, I know I don't really like getting deep. I don't get deep in the conversations, on trending in the AM. I try to keep things light and fun. But when I hear about mental illness struggles and suicide and stuff like that, even if I don't know the person, it really tears me up. And it really hurt my heart a lot this weekend. Knowing he struggled, knowing and hearing him talk about how he felt like he was getting things back on track in life. He finally won this year. It really hurt me a little bit there. And we just never know what these athletes are going through on a daily basis.
It's tough. And I'm like you too. It's like, no matter who it is, no matter if you like the guy or not, it's like, it still hits home. And I think I'm the kind of person that, like you are too. It's like, even if I have no clue who the person is, if I hear something like this, when it's like, oh yeah, Joe Smith was out there and he was struggling and people didn't even know, like, that's brutal. I mean, you saw Peter Malnati, the way he reacted, and like, he wasn't even one of his buddies. He just simply said, like, I was with him a couple hours ago playing, and like, he was playing well until that, I think it was like a 3-hole stretch where he started to kind of come apart a little bit. And it's like, who knows what was going on in his head? I think that's the saddest part, is like, he's out there playing golf tournament. We're judging people like based off of like, oh, he's great, or off of golf. We don't even think twice about, what these guys are going through mentally. And I think to have him clearly be going through something that he's been going through for a long time, but like, to know that it was that bad, like to withdraw from a golf tournament, probably knowing that might be your last day on earth, that's brutal.
I mean, I think it was Peter Malnati, because he was the one that I saw the interview with him, and he had played with him that day. He reached out after he finished his round and told somebody, I forget who I heard him say, like, someone needs to go do a wellness check on Grayson Murray, because he could tell that something wasn't right there. And knowing the struggles that he went through, and it doesn't matter, like, it's just like alcoholism, and he was struggling with, alcoholism in his career as well, in his life as well, that you're never, no matter how much you think you're over your problem or you've got it under control, it never goes away. And Grayson Murray has been very vocal about getting more help for players on the PGA Tour in these circumstances. And it doesn't matter how much better he is, deep down inside, that's always a problem, right?
I think it is. And that's the thing, like we've talked about it, I've talked about it. Sia talked about it. Our buddy Sia has been talking about it. It's just like, you never really know what people are going through. Like, to us, this dude had it all going for him. He was, a young guy, PGA Tour professional, 2 career wins. Like, I mean, like, we would have killed for that. But like, you don't know, no amount of money, no amount of fame, no, all the different stuff. That doesn't matter if your mental health is shot. And I think that it gets there's like a stigma, and I think it's become more relevant, so people have talked about it a little bit more. But there's always like that stigma where like you feel like it's a weakness, and it's
Oh,
like it's
absolutely.
really not. It's like, and I saw you post the other day about like if anybody needs help or needs someone to talk to, like I'm here 24/7, and I feel the same exact way. It's like you never know what people are going through, and you can put on a brave face. People post what they want to post on social media, so you think like that's the highlights basically of their life, but like you don't know who's going through it, and that's why it's just so important to
Sometimes,
take notice of it.
am I crazy to say? I sometimes feel that social media is a big crux for a lot of people, or
Yes.
causes more problems. Like I almost feel like those that are struggling should be off of social media. Period. We do it before. We goof around and joke. Oh, that golfer missed that putt. So it cost me $50. That missed putt, or we blame football players. I mean, I don't know. Well, Lions, he did play for Minnesota for a little bit, so maybe Jalen Reagor. He was an Eagles first
Yeah.
round pick a few years back. He got bullied so bad by Eagles Nation, on social media that he had to cut all social media ties because it was just becoming so. He was obsessed with reading all the negative comments, and it was making him spiral. And we don't realize that these athletes, whether it's golf or football, basketball, they're just like you and I. They struggle just like you and I, and sometimes we gotta give them a little bit more space, and obviously also help them when they need it, but you know, treat them like the human beings that they are.
Can you imagine, like, to just piggyback off what you just said, like, can you imagine being a famous person, especially a famous young person? Like, you get so much crap on social media. And it's like some people can handle it for sure, but I feel like the younger generation of like early 20s, like you see it all the time with college. Like you brought up Jalen Rager, like 100%, he was a young dude, but like you see it even with college players, like Bronny James taking so much crap. Like you saw Michigan State, it was a big thing because their point guard played horrible down the stretch, and like he was getting like death threats and stuff. It's like, my God, it's a game. And it's like people forget these guys are, 20, 25 years old. And Grayson Murray, obviously a little bit older, but like they're young people getting just crapped on. It's like by some dude who never played a sport in his life and is probably miserable in his life is some keyboard warrior. That's like, it doesn't matter who it is. I saw a podcast one time with Kobe Bryant, and they were asking him like, what did he like negative? Like, did you ever listen to the negativity? Did you ever hear it? He's like, I heard all of it. I heard all of it. Like,
Any athlete that says that they don't hear it or they don't listen is totally lying to you.
right.
Whether you turn on the radio, you turn on your phone, or wherever, they all hear it and they all know it. And I don't know, and we don't know. We can theorize what was going on with Grayson Murray. Was it alcoholism catching up to him again? Whether it was just whatever it is that goes through somebody's mind that causes them to think that they have to take their life.
Yeah.
But like you just said, and from what I tweeted out earlier, everybody, like, there's always someone there that can help.
Yep.
And I heard this a couple weeks ago, and I put it out there on Twitter. And I keep saying it to myself, and I'm trying to reach out to more people, because this line I heard: people would rather hear from you than about you.
Yep.
And ever since I heard that a couple weeks ago for the first time, like, I'm sure that's been said before, but I had never heard it. Like, I've been really trying to make a conscious effort to reach out to people. Just say, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Because you just don't know. And you don't know if that one random phone call or text message or DM from somebody, if it could be the meaning of them to, save their life or not. It can literally be just something that puts a smile on their face, but it can literally save their life.
Even if it's not, we're talking extreme circumstances.
Yeah, we're talking extreme,
yeah.
but you get what I'm saying.
But I think the biggest, like you just said, like just reaching out to your friends. It's like you and I will do that. Like if we don't talk for 3 days, we text most days. If we don't talk for 3 days, one of us will be like, hey, you doing all right? Like that might matter. That might make a difference of like, hey, Phil's having a bad day, whatever. And then I reach out to him. It's like that kind of stuff means a lot, especially to your friends and, close people in your life. It's like that can make the difference. And like, even just like something as simple as like just being nice. Like go out of your way to do something nice for somebody like that. That shit makes a difference. It really does.
I mean, hell, even just on social media alone, the cesspool that is Twitter. And
Right.
yes, we're on Twitter right now, and we post things on Twitter all the time. I mean, we do things pretty much the right way. But you see plenty of people out there that if somebody comments something and you don't agree, you effing this, you effing suck, you bleepity this and that. It's like you use the word keyboard warriors. They fight like keyboard warriors, and some people can handle it. I can handle it when people call me out. It doesn't keep me up at night. but you don't know these people on Twitter, whether they can handle it or not.
Yeah.
And, I don't want to make this a whole show about this kind of stuff, but I feel for athletes. I really do on a regular basis because, they're in that spotlight, but, I don't know if the world does enough to help these people.
And do you feel better about, I don't know. I wish would never I say stuff on social media all the time about sports and stuff like, oh, we choked or whatever like that. I would never tweet at an athlete and be like, oh my God, you suck. Like, first of all,
or jump in there. You always see people sending DMs to athletes and blasting them and something like that.
First of all, you never say it to their face. So why do you think you're tough on your keyboard? It's like, I don't know.
It really breaks my heart. And I started this whole segment off by saying, his parents came out and said Saturday, my thoughts just go out to his parents. I don't have a kids, but you obviously have Jax, and to think about losing a kid at 30 years old and that you got to put them, knowing that they had problems to begin with.
Right.
I don't know. Like I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, how did his parents stand up there and make that speech and be like, I want you guys to continue playing. That's what Grayson would want.
Right.
That's why we're still doing this show. And we're we talk about this a little bit here. But then we're just going to, in a few moments here, we're just going to dive into this week's RBC Canadian, Open, because that's what you kind of got to do. You kind of got to use moving on as a therapy of getting over the problem.
But it just feels so small. You know what I mean? Like, it's like any tragedy that happens. It's like moving on that first time. It's crazy. It's hard, but you're right. I mean, for his parents to do that, I mean, that takes a lot of courage. Sadly, it almost seemed like they expected it. That's what I kind of gathered, which sucks even more. But like, you're 100% right. As any parent, whether your kid is 40, 30, or 6, it's like you never. I mean, that's the worst case scenario. That's every parent's biggest fear, is like losing a child. And for them to do that and to say what they said, it's I don't know. It's heartbreaking. It really is.
So our thoughts and prayers are with the family and friends of Grayson Murray. Hopefully he's resting, peacefully, whatever. I don't want to get into all that, but so we're going to transition. We're going to talk this week's RBC Canadian Open. And there's lots to get into with this week's event. But real quick, we are brought to you. We do have some great sponsors here at Edge of Philadelphia Sports, SherryTickets.com. Great moments don't just happen. They happen with you in the crowd. SherryTickets.com. It's easy to use and has no hidden fees like the other resale sites. Check them out. Make sure you use promo code EOP10 at checkout. It saves you an additional 10%. If you need a more personal touch, getting those hard-to-come-by tickets, call them, 610-494-5050. Just let them know EOP and Fairway to Heaven is where you heard about them. Remember, save with the best. Don't overpay with the rest. SherryTickets.com. So it's really hard to go into an ad read after having that serious conversation, But I'm trying to use that to transition into some more, what we're here to do, which is to break down this week's event. Obviously, Davis Riley won last week's event, which kind of came out of nowhere. I couldn't believe Scottie Scheffler was like 6 strokes back at one point. And he was still the favorite to win the tournament. And he almost did. He cut it to 3 at one point on Sunday. But, when I thought about the RBC Canadian Open being this week, all I could think of, hold on. Let me phrase this topic as a question for you. What do you think is the first thing I thought of when I realized this week was the Canadian Open?
The first thing you thought of?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
All right. It's not, what's his name? Who won last year? Nick Taylor or whatever.
Yeah.
Not the 70-foot playoff putt to beat Tommy Fleetwood.
I know what you thought of.
A massive amount of money invested in Tommy Fleetwood last year at this event, and not the 72-foot putt that won it. Right. Adam Hadwin being tackled by security after it. That's the first thing I thought of when this, because I still think of that picture of him cheering on his fellow Canadian and literally getting speared like Goldberg on an episode of Nitro back in 1990. Like, that's what I thought of. But yeah, the Canadian Open. One of those tournaments that rotates courses. We are at, I have it written down here, Hamilton Golf and Country Club in Ontario, Canada, this week. I appreciate it, Stewie. I see your comments coming in here, my man. Appreciate it. We'll get back to the real comments, the golf comments right now. I don't know if that was a tackle. I think it was like a straight spear. Okay, Jack Cameron. I was ready for a rock bottom and a stone cold stunner from that security guard. which is funny thinking of how the security handled Scottie Scheffler a few weeks ago. A little different. We might touch back on that at the end of the show. But anyway, we are at the Canadian Open. Like I said, Hamilton Golf and Country Club. It's a small course, one of the smallest courses that's in any rotation, just under 7,100 yards, super short, tree-lined course. What do you think of this course and another super small, short course on the PGA Tour like this?
I think I auto default to not liking shorter courses, but I don't know. It's an interesting course. I mean, it's not as bad as we've seen some courses. Yeah, it's really short. I mean, but the par threes are tough. It's not the easiest course in the world. It's not going to play like on single digits or anything like that. But it's challenging. I mean, there's 88 bunkers, 9 water hazards. I mean, it's a short course, but like if you're not hitting the fairways here, they're saying the rough is going to be like 3.5 inches deep. So it's going to be a challenge. So you're going to have to hit a lot of fairways.
It's also it's weird. I'm reading. I had a rough day at work, and I'm reading my notes to refresh my mind here as we're going. It's the 5th oldest. The Canadian Open is the 5th oldest tournament in golf, not just on the PGA Tour. All of golf, the history of golf. It's the 5th oldest tournament, and the last time it was held here, it was a very tough event until round 4 in 2019 when Rory went out and shot a 61. To win by 7 strokes. So this is a course where it's a difficult course. It's a positional course, a lot of those things, but you can go low. And if you look at it, when last time I was here in 2019, and there was no Canadian Open in 2020 or 2021 with COVID, going into the final round in 2019, Rory, Webb Simpson, Matt Kuchar were all tied. 3 completely different golfers.
Right.
Distance, accuracy, iron play, putting, like they all specialize in different things. So that makes it extremely difficult when a bomber can bomb and gouge this course, but also Webb Simpson, who I got laughed at for playing last weekend, and he actually did pretty well until Sunday. Someone like Webb Simpson or Matt Kuchar can have a week. How do you differentiate when there's a course that there is no set? Like we know short courses that are Pete Dye courses. There's Pete Dye guys. This course, anything can win here. Makes it very difficult, doesn't it?
It really can too. And I think people see Rory's result, and I think they just think that like, oh, you can bomb and gouge it. But like Rory was the only guy that was like Rory in the top 10 of that last time I was here. It was all, like you said, plotters, like shorter guys that could putt and and just get by. It's like it's an interesting theory, but I think this is more of a plotter's golf course. I don't think too many guys can do what Rory did. And Rory was in one of those modes too, where it's like, we've seen it a few times where like, if Rory's locked in and Rory's putting and gaining that much, if he gains that much on the green, it's over for everybody else. We know that.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not necessarily convinced on the bomb and gouge being the way. I think it's more of a plotter's course, and it is tough. I think that's the biggest thing is I think you can see anybody win. I'm not ruling out bombers, but at the same time, like I lean towards more accurate guys. So it's tough this week.
Here's an interesting stat that I found for you also this week before we get into the field and all. Obviously, Nick Taylor won as a Canadian last year at this event. This event is the 5th oldest tournament. You want to know the last time Canadians won this event back to back?
Wasn't it like 70 years even since a Canadian had won it all?
1913 to 1914. Yeah. The last time this event went back to back Canadians, and I know everybody's hyped for the Canadians this week. Adam Hadwin, all the guys, Corey Connors, all the Canadians this week. But on a winning side of things, we're not talking about 20 years it hasn't happened in. We're talking over 100 years Canadians haven't won this event back to back.
I think it was like 70 since one had won it all. So it's been a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, still we saying Bombers will have an advantage this week. I think there's 2 reasons why Bombers. I think people just think Bombers with like distance off the tee. But that also means they hit their 3-wood further. It also means they hit their 3-iron off the tee further. Right. I keep looking at everybody's going to be hitting their second shots from that 125, 130, 140. Well, if you can hit your sand wedge or your gap wedge from there versus a 9-iron, there's so much that the Bombers and the distance in a plotting course can actually play into it. Does it make sense what I'm saying there?
It does. And I think that's what goes under the radar. You see Rory with his bomb and gouge style that he played last time. He also hit a crap ton of fairways last time he played.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like he's just hitting it wherever. It's like
Yeah.
if you're in the rough here, it's going to be very penal. So you're going to have to find a way to hit fairways.
But you might be able to hit you might be teeing off with your 3-iron. I would be teeing off with my 3-wood.
Right.
You're going to be more accurate with your 3-iron because
Right.
you've got that distance ability than I am going to be with my 3-wood. We're
Right.
both going to be hitting pitching wedge to the green.
Right.
So I don't know. I kind of went different this week when I was doing my model. I always have one thing or two constants always in my model. I do shots gained total for 5% and either 0 or 5% putting, and that's it. Okay. I upped my shots gained total in my model because I want the guys that are just tee to green, overall big picture performing in a very short window as well as possible. And obviously on a short course, putting is a major factor in it. So I went from 5% up to 10% on shots gained total. And I went from 0 to 5% on putting, which are two things I just never adjust by. Did you make any changes to the way you were picking golfers this week?
I did. So I never look at putting. I mean, I shouldn't say that.
I look at it too. I just never weigh it.
I never weigh putting.
Yeah.
But I look at putting every week. So I actually weighed putting 10% this week, which is the most I think I've ever weighed it. Because I don't think if you're not rolling the putter, you're in big trouble this week. So
right.
Yeah, I actually weighed it in my model, which I haven't done. I don't even remember the last time I did that. And the par threes are tough too. That's the biggest thing. They're long and they're tough.
I did put par 3 scoring in my model this week, which I tend to stay away from par 3, par 4, or par 4s. I see a lot of people using par 4, 400 to 450 this week. I normally stay away from those things. I like to just stick to approach, tee to green, ball striking, the main categories. But I threw par 3 in. Like my model is completely different than it normally is this week. I did put on a course like this, only 2 par 5s. You're going to have to score on these par 3s. You're absolutely going to have to.
Oh, yeah, you're dead if you don't score on the par 5s.
All right, so this week we've got it's crazy. I was reading, I forget who I was reading, and they were talking about how this event is like, it's like the World Series of the Super Bowl in Canada. Like, this is an event that people take, they really care about this event a lot.
Right.
Which is weird because it's just the Canadian Open. But it doesn't draw like a huge crowd. Like, it doesn't, it doesn't draw the top tier golfers regularly. Okay. And this year's no different. Obviously, Rory McIlroy is in the field. There's only 4 guys 10K and above, Rory being 12-1. And they left the 5K range in, even though their highest paid price guy, Rory, is only 12-1. I think DraftKings butchered it. But either they needed to put Rory up to 13 or they needed to eliminate that 5K range. And I know you were going to agree with me on that.
100%. You can't – there's no point in putting guys at 13 if you're going to – if you there's no point in putting guys at in 12s and 13s if you're going to put a 5K, given the low 5s and the low 6s and the 5s are brutal this week. Like, you almost can't play anybody this week down there. So it's interesting, but no, I agree with you 100%. Like, if you're going to put a guy up there, make people make a decision, and you're really not doing that. So
I feel like we've been talking about that a lot this year. Make the players force that decision, because now what you see, you're going to see Rory. I know right now it's still very early in the week. I'm going to wait again till tomorrow to make my lineups. Rory's listed at like 22, 23%. Rory's going to be 35% owned this week. I bet you, this is just a friendly bet, but I bet you there's at least 3 golfers, that are 30% or above in ownership this week, because you're not being forced to make that. You can build lineups with Shane Lowry and Alec Noren and Cam Young, because you want to take some random chances on Kelly Craft or Robbie Shelton or Chandler Phillips. You could do that and still pick 3 elite golfers this week. That Stars and Scrubs is like so easy to build this week.
I was just about to say that too. You're seeing all the winners come from Stars and Scrubs lineups. Like, you're seeing the winners either be Scottie in that range, Scottie, Rory, like those guys, or these crap guys that nobody ever talks about. So like, it's Theegala too, yeah, for sure. But you're not.
I don't know why I skipped over. I read off every name and I just skipped over Theegala's name. I love Theegala this week, Stewie. I like Theegala every week. Theegala will win this year. It's just a matter of when. I think that's why I've pretty much bet him every single week now for like 6 weeks in a row, because he's gonna win, and I want to get in on that Theegala win.
I think you brought up a good point, though. It's like you're seeing. I agree with you that there's going to be probably 3 guys that touch 30 or close to 30. You're going to see McIlroy, Rye, and probably Noren as the three guys that are all that high. And it's like nothing scares me more than chalk Noren or chalk Rye. Like whatever.
Nothing
Rory
scares
it,
me
it
more
is what
than
it is.
chalk Noren priced at 9,900.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Even
Like
Rye 8,900. I mean, that's a lot for him.
well, you know I love Rye. Like
I
I've
know,
been
but
like
I'm used to him being like 75, 77, not 89.
So the question is, ownership is going to be insane this week. And I don't know, has anybody ever, like in a major GPP, ever hit 40% ownership in a regular big field event like this?
I'm sure.
Like Rory might hit 38, 39%. I remember John Rahm a few years ago. I think it was at the Mexico Open when he won. I think he was like 36 or 37% in that event. And I still think the winning lineup had John Rahm in it. Do you go? And I was telling you, like a strategy I'm thinking about playing is just pick four guys. Pick my favorite four guys at the top of the board. Whoever, Rory and Theegala and Matt McNeely, whoever. Don't worry about ownership on four guys. And then pick 20 other guys and just do 2 clicks on this guy, 2 clicks on this. Have 20 guys at 2 clicks each. So that the 3 or 4 guys that I love, they're in every single lineup. And then I'm just bouncing everybody else around. It's kind of weird. It's kind of unorthodox, but it's something I'm just throwing around in my head is I don't know what the pros and cons are doing it that way.
Yeah, I don't know either. I've been kind of going with a strategy lately of making sure I get 2 studs in every lineup. I think that's that's my biggest thing. Like I'm not so much worried about like how many clicks I get on people. I want to start every lineup with 2 guys that I think can win for sure. So that it's interesting this week because it's a little tougher to do it, but I mean, I'm okay with starting lineups this week with like Shane Lowry or Theegala and then a 9K guy. So I think I just always want to get 2 studs in there. That's my biggest thing.
So let's look at the top. You got 4 studs, 5 studs if you want to count Noren at 9,900. You got Rory at 12-1, Theegala at 10-5, Fleetwood at 10-3, who was the runner-up last year at this event. Different course, but still. And he loves those short courses. And Shane Lowry at 10-1, Noren at 9,900. I guess you could throw Cam Young at 9,800 since there's so few guys at that top of the board. If you got to pick 2 of those top guys, where are you going? Because to me, it's Lowry and Theegala. I think if I only could pick 2. If I'm picking 3, I'll throw Rory in there. But if I'm picking 2, I'm picking Theegala and Lowry.
It's tough because I like all of them. Like I really do. I mean, I even like Fleetwood. The only thing I don't I agree with that play. Well,
we'll get to that in a bit when we get to the 8K range.
No, but there's concerns with. I think with Rory is the easy one for me. I'm going to play Rory definitely. I was going to say 100%, but not 100%. I'm for sure going to play
12-1. You can afford it with the 5K range.
I like Theegala. I'm a little worried about him if he sprays it off the tee, but he's turning into like a guy that just is like a stud golfer. He used to have like the stigma where like he had to be on a wide open course where there wasn't a lot of rough. It doesn't really matter anymore. He's a stud. So I like him. I mean, it's hard not to like him. And then Lowry with his course history here, and then he's been putting better. Lowry's biggest thing is his putting. If he putts, he's an awesome golfer. If he doesn't putt, he's horrible. And we've seen him putt a little bit better in the last few weeks. So I think my 2 favorites, if I was going to do it, would be probably Rory and Lowry.
Okay, gotcha. We already mentioned Alec Noren. Here's the thing. It's interesting about Noren is that when we get to these type of events and he's in the field, everybody gravitates to him. And I know he's won like 10 times internationally, but he has never won on the PGA Tour.
Same with Tommy.
That's got to be like a mental block to a player, right? Like you just can't win on this tour, but I can win nonstop on this tour,
But I think that's the argument because Tommy's the same way. I mean, like we love Tommy. I love Tommy, but can you play Tommy Fleetwood when he's over $10,000? I mean, that's just brutal to me.
I was heavily invested in Tommy Fleetwood last year at this event. Right. And it did okay in DFS. He took second place, but
I just feel like I don't know. I feel like Tommy's one of those guys, and I almost feel like Noren's one of them too, where it's like when they're in the 7Ks in a tough event or the 8Ks, they're money. I don't like starting a lineup with either one of those guys because I just don't have faith that they can win. And I just feel like the easier this course plays, which is it'll be interesting to see how it plays, but like the higher the scores go, I think the less of a chance that either one of them can win. If that makes sense.
No, it does. Also in the 9K range, you've got Corey Connors, Sam Burns. I know a lot of people are talking Matt McNeely and even Adam Scott. Like Adam Scott's a good golfer still, but he's not a 9K guy. But he is 9K. I almost feel like if I take Sahith Theegala and Shane Lowry to start like you say, pick 2 studs. If I take those 2 guys, I like some of these other names, but I might just skip the rest of the 9K range and just put 10K guys in almost every lineup.
I think that's the way to go, or a 10K guy and a 9K guy, and then skip the rest. Because I mean, the problem is with the 9Ks is that everybody's on the same people, and I think people are trying to get cute with it, and they're trying to talk themselves into Sam Burns. Like Sam Burns has not been good,
Yeah.
And the biggest thing with Sam Burns that's scary is that his putting is usually money, and he's been struggling, and that's the biggest thing. I think that like he's not where he was a year ago in this state right now, so it worries me. And I'm actually trying to talk myself into Sam Burns, so I just don't want to be the same as everybody else. I don't have a lot of faith.
Is there a case to be made that we've talked about this for years now on this show? How I hate the term. Everyone talks about pivoting. I always say people only pivot to sound like cool when they say, "Well, I'm going to pivot off of whoever, and I'm going to pivot to Sam Burns."
Right.
Like maybe you don't pivot in this top K. You pick Alec Noren, whoever you want. Just pick the 2 best golfers you think in this range, and then find those pivots or lower owned guys to differentiate yourself down below. I think that still does the same thing, right?
I think you just got to set, I don't want to say rules because I don't think it's cut and dry anytime like that. But I feel like you got to set guidelines for yourself. Like for me, the way I do it, which is not right. I'm not saying it's right and in any other ways wrong or anything like that.
You've got a GPP win in under your belt, not me. So you're doing something right.
My way to differentiate is 7,400 or lower. I will never play chalk. Never. Because I will just take my chances of them. The rest of it, I don't really care all that much about ownership, to be honest, unless somebody gets crazy. Unless you're talking somebody being 40% or 30%. Like, I really don't care about ownership.
I mean, Sam Burns also, he did just have a baby, so maybe there's some of that in his struggles as well. I don't know. But, there's a thing when certain golfers or certain, athletes have a baby, they come out with these little bursts. So I don't want to convince Steve not to play Sam Burns this week, because then he's going to have that baby strength behind him, Sam Burns, and, tear up the golf course. You know what I mean?
Here's the problem.
I don't want to convince to say don't. I'm just saying use caution.
He hasn't been good. However, when you're talking about the guys that are right by him, so you're talking, we'll start with we'll say Noren. So Noren, Young, Connors, Burns, McNeely. Like, who do you think has the most win equity? I think it's Burns, but he's been bad. He's probably been the worst of those guys lately. So
there's a little bit of a high risk, high reward, but also high getting burned right there.
I just don't feel like any of those guys we just named, with the exception of Burns, can win this tournament. So it's weird.
Yeah, it's weird. Then you go into the 8K range again. You still got that high ownership with Aaron Rye there at 8,900. Yeah, Keith Mitchell. We've heard Tom Kim's name there, and I thought people were going to be off of Tom Kim, but it seems like some people are liking Tom Kim this week.
He's playing a little better.
I like this 8K range because I think there's some names you could play, and play the 30% Rory, and then pick Tom Kim, who is right now at like 12%,
12.7, yeah,
12.7%. Like, there's a way you could get different with your lineup, right?
I think so. And you mentioned Aaron Rye. He's at 70%. Last time I looked, he was at 20.8. So they're saying he's dropping a little bit, which is weird. I think people are doing the same thing.
I love it. I think people don't do that enough. Track the ownership percentage.
Yes.
If you see swings up or swings down,
right,
it tells you something. And sometimes those swings down, you can benefit from them.
I think that's the argument for waiting until tomorrow to do your lineups too. I think, like, we've both been guilty in the past of doing them on Tuesday. I think you got to really see the full picture. And I think checking in every once in a while, like you just said, like seeing, okay, he was 20. Are people talking themselves out of it because of the ownership? Because he seems like he fits his course perfectly. He hits a lot of fairways. He's good off the tee. Like, it just seems like it's great for him. But ownership's the biggest stigma.
How do you feel about the narrative? I know they haven't won back-to-back Canadians in a while, but then you also have Adam Hadwin at 8,500, who has been okay, I guess is the word we use this year.
At best.
What?
At best.
He hasn't missed a cut since the Players, but he's only got one finish above 42nd place. You know what I mean? Like, do you think that the one event in your hometown, if you want to call it that, like, can be something that, look at in the last 3 years in this event, 12th, 35th, 6th, he had a missed cut there, 49th, 7th, 53rd, 4th. He's done, even when he's been playing badly, he's done well playing for his home country. Do Do you buy into that playing for your home country? It's kind of like that Olympics thing or World Cup thing. You think that do you not take that into account at all?
No, I do, which is weird because look, you bring up a good point. Like he hasn't been good for months. Like I don't even remember the last time I was like, wow, Adam Hadwin is, a good play. I don't remember the last time I played Adam Hadwin, to be honest with you. But I mean, he does play well here, and I think the course fit is the biggest thing. I mean, he's such a good putter. I think we're seeing that, but it's also that's why we like him. But I think if you see it, I think this range gets skipped as a whole pretty much. I mean, you're seeing guys that are pretty good plays, like Tom Kim being only 12%, Hadwin being 9%, Hughes being 10%, EVR being 8%. I mean, like,
I love it.
This whole range is getting just kind of overlooked because I think people are going to build stars and scrubs. So I think your idea of starting with Rory and then dipping down to one of these guys is very smart.
I think I can make a case where I don't play like I probably will have a sprinkle of Noren or Young or whatever in there, Matt McNeely, but I can make a case that I will probably potentially fade the incomplete 9K range because I like all those names you said. Even Bethea, what's Betea's ownership like? I kind of feel like he's got the 12%. Like actually, there's only one person in the red on fantasynational.com. Partners with the show here. Make sure you check them out, fantasynational.com. And if you sign up for one of their plans, let them know. Fairway to Heaven's where you heard about them. There's only one guy over 12% in the 8Ks, and that's Aaron Rai at the top of it.
You could even do like say you didn't want to play Rory. You could even do like Thigala and then do Hadwin and Kim or somebody like that.
Yeah. You absolutely could do that.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Pendrith, I think, will be one of the best Canadians this week.
That one.
He is on my list. What? Oh, 7,600. I was like, why haven't I brought him up? I kind of feel like where they got some of these prices wrong at the top by not going pricey enough on Rory or Thigala. Like we said, you could have gone 13 something on Rory, and like you could have even gone 11.5 on Thigala if you were going to include this 5K range. I kind of feel like some of these names in the 7K range, like Pendrith at 7,600, I kind of feel like that's underpriced for him a little bit.
Especially for how good he's been. I mean, like, he missed his last cut. I think it was PGA, right, that he missed, but he's been really good besides that. So I agree with you.
Before the PGA missed cut, a 10th, a first, and an 11th. It is 3 events before that. I mean, it's pretty good. And how is he doing it? Putting. 3.6 strokes gained putting
to
Wells Fargo. 3.7 at Byron Nelson. His miscut the PGA Championship was the first time he missed strokes putting since November of last year.
Which is insane.
And that was only 0.2.
For a dude that's not a good putter.
Yeah. I mean, he's been for a dude that's not a great putter.
Used to not be.
He has, over his last 106 rounds, he is gaining strokes putting. His last 20 rounds, last 10 rounds, last 5 rounds, he has been progressively, you look at his numbers, progressively getting better with the flat stick.
Sneakily, for a dude that's a bomber, very good on short courses also.
Yeah, no. So I think that, again, where's Taylor Pendrith there? He's 11.6%. You can make an argument that's I kind of feel like that number might go up, but just like the 8K range, until you get to the low 7K range, there's no ownership in the upper 7K range.
My only fear with him is that he's in this weird zone where I don't know about you. I don't know who you like. We can kind of segue into the 7Ks, but I don't know who you like in this range. But there's not a lot of guys around him that I really like. I'm like, wow, that's a great play.
Yeah, see, here's the thing. Like, I don't think there's a lot of great plays around him, but I can make an argument for Mark Hubbard. I can make an argument for Daniel Berger, who's been getting better this year. I can make a slight argument for Ben Griffin. I don't love these options.
Berger's my favorite.
And I wouldn't go heavily overweight on any of these golfers, but I can make an argument that you could click a couple of these guys 3, 4, 5 times.
Yeah. Berger is my favorite of those ones, which is weird to say and scary to say, but I don't know. Even Hubbard, it's like, I think he has the longest made cut streak on tour right now. It's 15. His finishes haven't been amazing or anything. So if he's chalky this week, I mean, like his last 4.
Well, he's not chalky right now is what I'm saying.
Right. But his last 4, T65, T25, T52, T36. Everybody's acting like he's a sneaky play this week. Like I don't know.
I mean, his last missed cut was November 19th at the RSM Classic.
Right.
But he's only got 1 top 25 finish. Well, no, 2. Yeah, finished 20th at Farmers, 4th at Pebble Beach, and then everything else is outside the top 25.
Good iron player, but
yeah. Like there's literally 0 win equity there with him.
Right.
I like Daniel Berger. I think there'll be north of 5 clicks on Daniel Berger for me. He hasn't had great finishes this year, but he looks like he's getting healthy.
Yeah.
And what do we need to do? We need to putt, right?
Yep.
And he was a good putter at one point. He was a good iron player. I thought he had PGA Championship material written all over him, before he got hurt. And that's kind of what you need. Those kind of skill sets here at this event. I don't know. I'm kind of on Daniel Berger this week.
So am I, which is scary because he hasn't, like you said, he hasn't been that great. I agree with that pick too. I like Matt Wallace this week too. Another guy that's a good putter. The biggest thing I think with Berger that so he fits stat wise exactly what you said. He's a strokes gain total guy. Like he's good all the way across the board. Like if you look at his stat profile, I'm just gonna look at it just real quick. Like okay, so over the last 36 rounds, 14th in approach, 13th off the tee, 3rd in fairways, 17th from 200 yards and out. Like he just gains and all. Like he's good around the green. He's good at hitting greens. It's like I don't know. I just feel like if he can really get it going a little bit, I feel like he is perfect for this course.
What's funny though is after the upper 7K, you got 1, 2, 3, 4. There's about 12 names from 7,500 and below. I've only got 2 of them starred right now, and one I don't even like this week. I start all people that finish in the top 10 or 12 in my model. The Gim Reaper is in 10th in my model, and I'm off the Gim Reaper. I just brought his name up. I only starred one other name in this range, so I feel like if I'm going to play stars and scrubs, it's going to be tough because I need to be convinced to play one of these other guys.
So why don't you like Gim? I'm just out of curiosity.
He just hasn't been the wheels fell off. I'm going to pull up the stat profile. I forget exactly, but he was doing really well earlier this year. The 8th at the Mexico Open, 16th, 12th. So he went 13th, 12th, 8th, 16th, 16th. That was from January through beginning of March. Then he went 67th, miscut, 43rd, miscut, 35th, 56th. He's just been okay at best. He's losing strokes every single week putting, which you need to be able to do. He's losing strokes around the green. When you have small greens, around the green play comes in very important. Yeah. I just think that he's downward trending too much right now. And I don't know. I can't trust him.
I get that. I definitely get that.
So who do you like in this range then?
He does. Gim does have good course history. Not good course, tournament history, I should say. My favorite in this range, Matt Wallace is one of my favorites as well. I know Steve just mentioned him. Definitely one of my favorites. I don't like a lot in this range, and I think that's my biggest problem so far. I have 3 names starred in the whole 7K range, and it's Berger, Pendrith, and Wallace. So who do you like in this range?
I'm going to go back to the guy that you liked last week that missed the cut last week. Rio, I don't know if we say it right. Rio Hisatunsuni. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just randomly trying. We'll just call him Rio. What was that? Like Street Fighter Rio, the guy that shot stuff out of his hand. I do like him because before his miscut, he did have a couple really strong finishes the few weeks before that. So I do kind of like him. Again, that's not a major click right there. Right. That's just a few little bit of attention there. But I think in the upper 6K range, with a Matt Kuchar, an SH Kim, or a CT Pan, you can make a play for those guys instead of going to some of these chalkier 7K guys.
Yeah, no, I don't hate that at all. He's another guy that's been a lot of DP World Tour success, and he's been pretty good lately. He just kind of shit the bed last week.
Yeah, the 1 week he decided to play, he shit the bed.
I think he only missed the cut by 1 too. He was
really close to making it last week. You brought it up before the show, and at the top of this 6K range is one Mr. Eric Cole. What in the blue hell happened to Mr. Eric Cole this year? There was a stretch this year where he was literally the hottest golfer on tour.
It sucks because he pops in so many areas that I want him to pop, but he's just not good anymore. It's so weird because he was so consistently good for so long, and now you're seeing him his stat model. Numbers are just brutal, and you're seeing 2 miscuts in a row, a 68th, a 52nd. He has been so bad since the Honda Classic. Really, it's tough because if you look at guys that are good on short courses, he's right there. And I don't know, it's really weird.
We'll put it spelled up. What about Bobby Mack? And I had
Thought
to
about
go while he
Bobby.
was talking there and pull up his stat profile because I do typically like Bobby Mack. I do. 7,100, and he's number one in the last 36 rounds in this field in that 200 plus proximity, which it doesn't sound like you would need it, but you kind of do, because that plus 200 proximity helps with irons off the tee, as well, and also the long tough par threes, and he's number one in that stat, but he's missed. I just had it up. 1, 2, 4 of his last 6 cuts he's missed, and that's with gaining 5, 6, 7, 8. About in the last 6 events, he's gained about 16 strokes putting combined, and he's still missing cuts every week. So his game is not in good form, in my opinion.
So bad tee to green too. That's the biggest thing. Like he popped for me too in a couple of spots, and I was looking at him and just his overall inconsistency that I see, and then also just like how bad he's been tee to green. I mean, his approach game's been awful. Like it worries me a little bit.
Yeah, I'm fading. I'm fading Bobby Mack. Sam Stevens, Steve says, I used to play him a lot earlier this year. He's not really popping in my model at all.
He's a guy that could Rory this course, honestly. Like he's a guy that just like he's long. I don't know if he's as accurate as Rory. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. It's just like I could see him just trying to bomb and gouge this course too. So I don't hate that. He's an upside guy for sure.
Yeah, he's an upside guy. I'm looking at his. Hold on,
he's not been very good recently either.
Like no, well he missed cuts 62nd, 40th, 14th, 57th.
Look at how bad his approach. He's lost an approach in 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 in a row. That's also not good.
Yeah, no, his approach and all his other stats. Some weeks he's gaining tee to green, then he's losing. Some weeks he's gaining off the tee, then he's losing. He's like his stat profile is like all over the place outside of approach, which is just straight dreadful. I'm a no on Sam Stevens.
Nothing's going to feel good. The biggest thing I think though is under 7K, nothing's going to feel great this week. I don't think.
I think that's a very fair way to say it. You're going to have to take, and that's again why instead of having a 20-person player pool, I'm going to have a 30-person player pool because I'm just going to add 10 extra guys at the bottom here, so that I don't have to click any one guy more than 2 times.
Yeah.
Thoughts on Silverman? I think I wrote Silverman down.
He's a Canadian, right? I think he's a Canadian, isn't he?
6,500. Yeah, I haven't started
this course. Last time they were here, I believe what would he finish? Yeah, 20th last time they were here at this course. He's a good golfer. I mean, for that price point, I feel like he could be worth a play. I think his ownership was getting a little high last time I looked. Let me double check.
2 missed cuts. 2 of his last 3 events, he's missed cuts, but he did finish 32nd last week at the Charles Schwab.
4%
He's been inconsistent, but
I don't know. I mean, he is Canadian too, so
yeah. I mean, he will be played. I will play him. I don't know if I could pull myself to click on his name more than 2 or 3 times. I like a little above him. I like Kevin Tway. I don't know how you say it. I just say S.H. Kim. I love S.H. Kim. I know he's been terrible, but again, tied for the lead going to the final round at this event, 19, Matt Kuchar. I'd rather those guys at 67 and 68.
Don't forget about Kuchar. You said that, right? You just said that?
What's up?
Kuchar?
Yeah, I said Matt Kuchar, and I don't even mind CT Pan. So CT Pan, Kevin Tway, S.H. Kim, and Matt Kuchar. Those 4 names in the upper 6K, that's where I'm looking that I like the most.
Kevin Tway is he's interesting. I used to play Kevin Tway all the time, like 5 years ago, and I didn't play him for a long time. Like he seems like he's figured out something. Like he's been consistently pretty damn good for the past couple of months.
Yeah, I played him a bunch earlier this year. Yeah, well, look at that. I mean, he hasn't played much this year, but 24th last week at Charles Schwab, 43rd at the Wells Fargo, 9th at the Byron Nelson, 3rd at Punta Cana. He missed the cut of Valspar, but so he's made 2, 4, 6 of his last 7 cuts. Not going to hit the ball a ton, but I think he's a solid play.
I like 2. I have 2 sneaky ones at the bottom. Bryce Garnett. I have a sensitive spot for Bryce Garnett. He's another good putter that he actually hasn't putted that well is the funny part for his guy that normally is a really good putter. He hits a lot of greens, hits a lot of fairways. I like Garnett a lot this week. And then sleeper of the week, Party Marty Laird. Really good on short courses. Hits a lot of fairways, really good around the green. I feel like he fits perfect for this course. Woodland's interesting
Gary Woodland, because this comment about Gary Woodland, didn't even know he was in the field because he's 6,200. Jesus.
He used to be the guy that this course used to be so money. Like this kind of a course used to be so money for Gary Woodland. He's made a lot of cuts. I'm looking. He's made 4 straight cuts, 5 of his last 6, 7 of his last 9.
He's gaining strokes putting every single week, just about, at least the last 4 weeks. Yeah, I mean, I love Gary Woodland because I love his story. And people tell me sometimes I fall in love with people's personal stories too much.
I just like him.
And it affects my opinions. And I don't know if I just like Woodland because of the story, or has he really turned a corner? That's what I'm trying to figure out there.
I hope he comes back. This just seems like he used to be, like we talked about, like he used to be the short course guy. I mean, like he won at Pebble. He just seems like the guy that, I don't know. This course fits perfect for him, or used to fit perfect for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Down here, I'm just going to throw some more random names because we got to pick up the pace here. Nate Lashley, Justin Lauer, Charlie Hoffman. I've starred all of them. I haven't agreed which one I'll play or not. And I do have Martin Laird and Bryce Garrett start as well on my list here.
Hayden Buckley. If nobody's going to play Hayden Buckley after what he did last week, I feel like, I don't know. This is a very similar course and a very similar skill set. So if nobody's going to play Buckley, I think he was at like 5% last time I looked. What was he at now?
How about anybody down in the 5K range? I know you say it's pretty bleak and barren down there.
It's Buckley for me.
Buckley's in that range. Okay. So Ryan Moore, I was high on him last week. He made the cut, then bombed on Sunday. I think Sunday it was. Shot like 10 over par. Carson Young, Cam's other brother there. Joel Damon actually is not.
They're not actually brothers, are they?
I don't think they are. That's why I said his other brother.
Yeah.
I start Joel Damon's name because I'm kind of intrigued because he pops in a lot of categories I think that are important this week, but he's such a god awful putter.
He
has been for so long.
I don't know. I talked myself into thinking that he was going to pop last week, so I bet him at like 450 to 1, thinking he was going to top 10, and he did not. He actually was okay though. He made the cut. He was like,
he hasn't gained strokes putting since the Phoenix Open in February.
Yeah,
and that wasn't even a full stroke
game. Really
and before that, you have to go back to October at Sanderson Farms. He's only gained strokes 4 times
in a year, almost.
4 times since June of last year. He's only gained strokes putting, so he's not a good putter. So that makes it very tough. But like I said, again, these are guys that, again, the strategy this week for me is 2 clicks. These guys that yay or nay, 2 clicks, 2 clicks, 1 click.
If you're not going to putt,
that's it.
If you're not going to putt this week, I think you're in big trouble.
Yeah,
I like the Buckley call for sure.
Yeah, Buckley, Merritt. I do have Kelly Craft start as well, and I have Chandler Phillips start as well. Chandler Phillips is a name that always pops up in these week events.
I think Kelly Craft is going to be like 15% owned, and that's a little rich.
Are you serious?
I think so. Yeah.
I think that would be kind of a bit extreme if that was the case.
I think it's going to be right there.
That would be disgusting. Oh my God, he's right now projected at 12% Kelly Craft. What in the? What is this World Cup to?
He's popping in everyone's model. That's the biggest thing. Like, especially when you look at short courses, he's popping on everything.
All right, let's get to the brass tag. Oh, actually, I've only read one ad. Let me read one of our other ad reads here real quick, and then we'll move on to building some lineups. This is PhillySportsTrips.com. If you're a Philly sports fan, you want to travel with your favorite team, then travel with the best. PhillySportsTrips.com. They premium travel packages and tailgating experiences for the best fans, period. Philly sports fans. Travel to see your Phillies, Eagles, Flyers, Sixers, Union, wherever. Bus trips, plane trips. They got this great package to see the Eagles. Week 1 of the NFL season, play Green Bay in Brazil. So check them out, PhillySportsTrips.com. If you don't want to go to Brazil, they got a trip coming up in a few weeks to Boston, a day bus trip down to Baltimore to see the Phillies play the Orioles, and they got a big trip going out to Wrigley Field for the 4th of July, Phillies versus Cubs. PhillySportsTrips.com. Let them know you heard about them right here on Edge of Philly Sports and Fairway to Heaven. And, of course, our favorite lawyer, David Archeri. He works at the Cherry Law Firm. If you've been involved in a motor vehicle accident, personal injury, affected by criminal law, call David Archeri, the Cherry Law Firm. He's here to fight for you and get you what you deserve. Give him a call, 610-565-0300, or go to cherryinjurylaw.com. All right, we're caught up on those 2 ad reads right there. Let's build some lineups. I believe you won the lineup build last week.
Did came through with it was like the best 4 of 6 lineup you could have. Like, not impressive, but like all my guys finished really high. So
I had a 4 for 6, and we know Steve. We don't know what Steve's lineup scored point wise, but being 3 out of 6, I'm assuming it wasn't very good. So we're gonna give you the win, Jason, last week. So what is the tally now?
So it is not me 9, you 8, and guess 2. So you're gonna be picking first today.
All right, so I get to pick first. Let me see. Do I have my DraftKings board up here? I do. All right, so we are going to start right off. And you know what? I'm just going to go and this is like almost like a a way for me to test out how this works anyway, I'm going to start right at the top with Theegala as my first line, first click.
Wow. I like
I'm going to go stars and scrubs somehow here and see how it works out for me.
I'm also going to be doing the same thing. I'm going Rory.
Rory. Okay. So then my second pick is going to be the second guy like the top, Shane Lowry. So I've just gone, boom, 2 10K guys right off the bat, Theegala and Lowry.
I'm going to go with you pick Lowry. I'm going to go Buckley. I'm going to go way low.
So you're going high and then low.
So
that means now I've got to go low. So I'm going to go low to S.H. Kim. I don't know how to pronounce his name.
I don't know.
So I just say S.H. Kim. So.
All right. It's my pick again. I'm going to go.
It's really easy. We're both firing off picks here, left and right.
I know. It's going a little fast for me.
Yeah, too fast. Can't keep up with this.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to go. Pendrith.
All right. So I need to save some money somewhere now. But what does this do for me? If I do this guy right there, that gives me plenty to do what I want to do. So we're going to go with Party Marty.
Party Marty. I like that one.
Martin Laird right there. So far I got Theegala, Lowry, Kim, and Laird.
Party Marty just holds a spot in my heart. He always will.
It's the name, Party Marty. I mean,
I know.
If you got a name, Party Marty, I mean, you just can't.
Also, if you look at him,
Steve gave us his score. Yeah, that did not win. 267 points. That is not good enough. I didn't think my 300 points was very good or whatever it was. So yeah, no, 267 didn't win. Well, we'll get you back on in a week or two, Steve. Maybe you can redeem yourself.
I'm gonna go Mac Hughes, good putter, Canadian. Like
Kenzie Hughes, I like Hughes too this week for sure. All right, so now pick number 5 for me. I was hoping I could fit this in here somehow, so I'm gonna do one Mr. Tom Kim.
Good pick.
Yeah, I like it. I actually like how this lineup is shaping up, even though I went with 2 10K guys.
All right, I'm gonna go with a guy that we didn't talk about, but I actually do really like this week. I'm gonna go EBR.
I love EBR this week. I thought I mentioned his name. Maybe I just glossed over it really quickly. I would have hypothetically normally gone with Pendrith here, but for the rules of the game, I can't pick Pendrith because you did. But that would fit in my lineup right now because I do like Taylor Pendrith this week. So I'm going to go Daniel Berger here. So Berger is my last pick.
Daniel Berger.
Yeah.
All right. He's been bad, but I expect some good in this week. So I'm going to go Akshay Bhatia as my last pick.
I think Bhatia kind of just burned out a little bit there. He was playing so much. He was doing well. And then he had that shoulder issue. I think he needed a little break, and I think he's back into, maybe doing well there. So Jason's lineup is Rory, Buckley, Pendrith, Mackenzie Hughes, EVR, Bhatia. I got Theegala, Lowry, S.H. Kim, Martin Laird, Tom Kim, and Daniel Berger. 2 Kims in my lineup. I don't know how I like that, but we'll see. So one and done. You had another great week, so you're literally demolishing me in one.
First of all, you also had a good week. Your guy finished 12th. So
I know, but your guy finished second, and you already had like $1 million lead on me. So obviously, you're crushing me even more.
Listen, I'm up 3.1 million.
That's it. All I got to do is pick the winner, and your guy missed the cut. So that's all that matters.
So who do you like? Or you want me to pick first, or you want to pick first?
Yeah, since I'm behind, I'm going to let you pick so I can pick somebody not like you, so that I can maybe make up some ground.
With a guy that I'm never going to use anywhere else that I want to use at some point, I'm going Corey Connors.
Okay, I think that's a good pick right there. See, I would usually normally use Theegala here, but I used Theegala very early this year, so I cannot. It's between Shane Lowry and Rory McIlroy. Hold on, have I used Rory this week here?
You have not used Rory. I don't know if you used Shane.
I can't read. There's one name on my list I can't read. It looks like Ray. I don't know any golfers named Ray.
You did not. I was actually going to use Lowry again, but then I realized I already used them. You did not use either of them.
I did.
So you're good.
You know what? I'm going to go Rory this week. I'm going to burn my Rory. I'm going to save Shane for the.
Oh wait,
the Open.
No, you already used Rory.
I thought I like I said, there's Ray written down here, so Ray has to be my bad handwriting for Rory.
Yeah.
All right, so then we're going Shane Lowry then.
Okay, Lowry.
Shane Lowry for me.
Who was actually going to be my one and done until I realized I already used them. So
there we go. So anyway, did you got any bets? I did place 5 bets this week. Do you got any bets this week?
You do yours first. I'm pulling mine up right now.
Well, obviously, I bet Sahith Theegala. Told you I'm going to just continue betting him every single week till he wins because I don't think that win is far off. I think it could happen this week. He would have been my one and done, but I couldn't use him. I did bet Alec Noren. I don't know why because, again, I know he's won 10 times internationally. He just can't win on tour, but I still bet him because I like that. I liked it. I did bet Shane Lowry as well, and I did go back to the Aaron Rai well, and I bet Aaron Rai this week. So I only got 4 bets this week. But I went pretty heavy on Sahith Theegala and used multiple, that my Sahith Theegala bet could have bet on 3 people. I just put it all on Theegala.
I bet Aaron Rai also this week. Not quite as good of a number as you did. I got him at 40-1. So Aaron Rai,
there were better numbers than 45-1 too. But
I got Pendrith at 55. I also bet Noren at 22, which I'm not really sure why I did that, but
it just seems stupid. I got him at 25. I don't now that I'm looking back at my bets, I'm like, I wish I didn't bet that Noren pick,
So I did that, and then I bet Batea at 45-1, and then I also put a futures bet into Bryson at the U.S. Open at 20-1, 4 units I put on there. So
man, look at you going. You're even going futures now, man. You're really getting into this game. You know what really annoys me? People like rush to get their bets in so much, and now I'm like, it was always my philosophy to wait to make my bets, but I get very little free time Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays, and everyone's like, you got to get the numbers before they drop, or get smaller. Do you know what? Sometimes you make stupid bets by rushing to make your bets. Right. And I kind of feel like Alec Noren, even though you got him at 22, I got him at 25. Like, I rushed it. I don't. I almost want that money back to move somewhere else.
You got to think too, and I think especially for the big names like Bryson, like if there's a number that you have in mind, and if he gets to that number, then bet him. Like it might happen now, it might happen 2 days before the tournament, but like I think I agree with you. People are so worried about like, oh, I got a futures, and like sometimes by all means, like
futures are okay. Futures are different. When I'm talking about the people are like, I think Bryson's the guy this week, so I'm going to bet him before he's 20-1 falls to 18-1. But you didn't do any of your research for the week yet. You didn't break it. Like Monday morning when the odds are released, the DraftKings prices aren't out yet. People have barely done anything.
Right.
Like maybe it would just be smarter. All right, so getting someone from 25-1 to 22-1 down to 20-1, that 5-1 difference might cost you money. But wouldn't it be smarter just to wait and be confident in your bet rather than 24 hours later and being like, why in the world did I make that bet? That was a waste of a couple bucks right there. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of feel like you got to stop worrying about losing 2-1 on somebody and just wait and make the smart bet.
Yep. 100% I agree with you.
That's just real quick before we wrap this up here today. Scottie, the Scottie news kind of blew over, but on the flip side, the mayor and the chief of police down there in Kentucky, they're not dropping any charges. And the cop coincidentally, body cam was not working, or not turned on accurately or properly. And there was a distant video of it and all. Dude, why can't the Kentucky people just let this go? That clearly needed to let go.
It looks so bad for them too. I mean, it really does. Like you see, first of all, the guy never goes down. He never falls down on the ground. Also, you see him. You don't know what was said, so it's hard to say. But like you see him as definitely the aggressor. Like you see the backhanded window hit. It looked like. I mean, it's tough. There is a press conference tomorrow, I think at 1:00. So I would be shocked if they didn't dismiss the charges. I just don't think they have anything to stand.
They had a press conference last week or during the tournament last week, and the mayor or the chief of police said we're not dropping, or the DA said we weren't dropping. Right. So maybe after that video was leaked right after that press conference, maybe they changed their tune. But it's just because of the Grayson Murray situation, that unfortunately the Scottie Scheffler stuff. Yeah. Took a back seat.
Doesn't matter.
I just want to throw that out there that I'm keeping my eye on Scottie Scheffler stuff right there.
For sure, 100%. Yeah, no, it's a weird situation, and it's just one of those things that like I feel like it needs to go away. It's embarrassing for both sides, I'm sure. And I don't know if you might know this, but is the officer still suspended because he was suspended last week?
I don't know.
So
I'm not sure how that went there.
If you don't think he did anything wrong, why would he be suspended?
Exactly. Well, he didn't turn his camera on.
Right. None of them had it on. Oh, shocking.
Yeah,
weird.
Shocking. Shocking what was going on there. All right, guys, with that being said, we're going to wrap up tonight's episode of Fairway to Heaven. Thanks to everybody that tuned in. If you're watching on replay, make sure you drop your comments. We do check them. We will comment. But make sure you hit the like, the share, the follow, the subscribe button. It's free to do. If you want to share this show out or hit those like buttons or follow or subscribe, it does not cost you a thing, and it helps massively in growing the show and growing the channel, Edge of Philly Sports. 7-day-a-week programming right here. I did not get the new graphic for this week. This is last week's graphic. But just to get an idea, 7-day-a-week programming on this show. We got great sponsors. Also, shout out Dolan's Bar in Ridley Park, 65-plus years of great food and great times. Check them out, dolansbar.com. Obviously, David Archerry, phillysportstrips.com, and sherrystickets.com. Shout out to them. Shout out to fantasynational.com. Shout out to all the viewers and commenters today. I see a new comment. I got to get in. Pure awesomeness. That's right. That is what this is pure awesomeness. But again, we tried to have a little fun. We did try to talk a little seriousness at the beginning of the show. If you are struggling in any way, shape, or form, do not hesitate. There is always someone that is willing to listen.
Yep.
And again, on the other end of the equation, like I said, this is not my quote. I heard it elsewhere. People would rather hear from you than about you. So with that being said, for Jason, I'm just going to wrap this show up right there, guys. Have a great night. I'm Phil Stiefel. This is Fairway to Heaven. We will see you guys next week, 6 p.m. As always, have a great night, guys, and go Birds.